So you're trying to improve your life. You don't know where to start. One of the things that's important to keep in mind is you want to solve your issues, your problems, whatever, at the most root level that you can. And this is a philosophy, it's a modality, it's a way of thinking that I learned as a software developer in Silicon Valley. You can put a Band-Aid solution on anything. Band-Aid solutions are only temporary. They usually only last for a little while, and they usually don't solve the problem all the way. So the best long-term solution, and if you're talking about you, yourself, your physical health, your mental health, your any type of health, then you want to solve the problem at the most root level. You want to rip, just like weeds, right? You want to rip them out at the root rather than ripping off just the leaves, whatever's above ground. And it's a great analogy to keep in mind to think about the root, because our conscious mind and our thinking and our level of language and words is that above ground level that we are aware of, right? We like to read books or talk to people about our problems, or get motivated. Someone tells us a story or something, and that's all very above ground. What's below ground is, let's just start a very basic definition of below ground. You can't see it. It's invisible. And so there's this whole other layer that we're not aware of most of the time, which is what keeps us stuck in the ways that we are, because we don't dig below ground. And there's two main aspects of our being that I've experienced and that I've worked with and that I've shifted things in my own life, and I teach other people how to do this. And it's these two areas that most people think is woo, or is just not worth exploring, or it's just something that they just say, yeah, you know, whatever. They kind of brush it off. If you can be one of the people who doesn't brush it off, but actually learns and actually does things differently and actually rewires yourself at this level, you're going to be ahead of most people, I'll tell you that. And so the two areas of life, of self, are the unconscious mind, which is below the dirt, right? Below the ground. It's below the level of the conscious mind. The unconscious, the subconscious mind, you can call them the same thing. And then the next level, which is not necessarily below that, but also below ground, is what I call like the somatic unconscious, the somatic subconscious. It's the layer of the somatics in your body and your nervous system, and how that affects you and the fascial layers of your body. Now, it might sound crazy to you. It might sound crazy to someone who's never explored that area of life before. But I can tell you, as a software developer who's done whatever it takes to reprogram my own psyche to fix my own problems, this is the root level work that needs to happen. And so if we're doing the root level work that needs to happen, and it's all below ground, then the tools that we're going to use to do that cannot be the same tools that we've used for the above ground work, because it's a different level that we're operating at. And so the typical things, such as more information, more knowledge, more forcing yourself, more willpower, more coaches, more therapists, more meditation, more focusing on your breath, more exercise, more diet change, all the stuff that you're used to hearing. It's all above ground tools. And almost by definition, because we've got to operate below ground if you want long got to use a different set of tools because we're going to be below ground, not above ground. So it's up to you to decide if you want long-term lasting change, or if you just want some fleeting short-term fix or change. Because a short-term fix might feel good in the moment, but if it's something you have to keep doing, it's not a long-term lasting fix. It's not a long-term solution. And if you want to, here's another metaphor with software development. One thing that I like about software development is, and just code and tech in general, is you can solve a problem once and then you never have to solve it again. You can write code to handle something every time it shows up, and it's going to handle it every single time because it's automatic. It's always there. It's always running. And so let's say you have a job and you're routinely going to some website for something, or you're routinely going to do something manually, you can write a piece of code to do that automatically for you every time. And you can solve it and you embed it permanently in the code, and then the code will run it exactly how you've programmed it every single time. And so as you solve your mental patterns and your thought patterns and all of those things, you want to ideally solve it once and then not have to solve it again. Same concept. And it's possible. It is possible. And so the reason it's possible is because human beings are essentially a super quantum computer. We are a super quantum computer. And there's so much below ground that we are unaware of until you learn how to become aware of and how to work with it. Until then, most of us are completely unaware of what's going on. And so because we're programmed the same way, is this person going, not going, they're turning? Okay. Because we're a super quantum computer and computers can be programmed, and guess what? We've modeled computers after humans, especially with AI and all of that. But because we are a super quantum computer, there is super quantum code running behind the scenes underground that when you become aware of how to interact with it and how to change the programming, then that's super powerful, a new super powerful tool that you have to influence your own life for the better. Because here's what happens. We get programmed whether we know it or not, and it can happen in both directions, positive or negative. So because we can get programmed, and we do get programmed on the negative aspect of things, think about the voices in your head from your parents, right? Think about this. Can you control your mind? Can you control the thoughts in your head, or do they just run automatically? If they run automatically and uncontrollably, then you might agree with the statement of, I am not my mind. Because if you were your mind, then you could control it. And so if you can't control your mind, that means you're separate from it, and if you can observe it anyway. And so if you're separate from it, that means it's not you. So you're not your mind. And so your mind gets programmed with certain beliefs, with certain ways of thinking, with certain, voices and conditioning of do this, don't do this, live this kind of life, be this kind of way. And for a lot of people, we end up living a life that is against what's true to ourselves. And so we have to undo the programming that's been done at the level where it's already been done, which is the level of the subconscious, the level of the somatic, in order for us to truly live our best life and to live life with less friction and with less stuff in the way all the time of us achieving the dreams that we want to achieve. And so it's with that philosophy, it's with that mentality, I need to turn around here. It's with that mentality that we want to approach our own life so that we can build ourselves up in the best way possible. Because if you look at someone like Tony Robbins, for example, he admits it. He's built himself. He wasn't born successful. He built himself this way. And so because we've been conditioned and programmed already since the day we were born, arguably since before the day we were born, because there's a lot that can happen and that can affect us from our mothers when she's carrying us. And so if we accept the fact that we have been conditioned and programmed and that's the life that we're living, whether aware of it or not, and we want to undo that, we want to do that at the root level, and the root level is below ground. And so working below ground is going to entail working with the subconscious and the somatic. And so then the question becomes, what are the tools that work at the subconscious and the somatic, and how do I even know it works? And do I even have to believe any of this? And the short answer to the last question is no, you don't have to believe in any of these modalities for them to work. You can just kind of show up and try one of these modalities, or one of these tools, I should say. And it will work whether you believe or not. The only thing that you need is you have to want the thing to change. You don't have to believe in a tool, but you have to at least want the change to happen in your life, in your self. If you don't want it to change, then, I mean, nothing's going to change it, right? So you have to want it to change. You have to want to change that aspect about you, whatever it is. But it's not like some religion. It's not like we're believing in God if you didn't before, or it's not like if you do believe in God, we're asking you to not believe, right? There's no belief aspect really in any of this. It's simply a tool that you can use to rewire the way you are, working at a level that most people don't interact with. So there's no belief required to do this type of work. And so that's good news. You can just learn the tools. And so the best tools, there's not a lot that I've found. There's a lot of, what am I trying to say? There's a lot that people will try to tell you and sell you. And I've done a lot of them. The best ones work at a level where you will feel something change instantly. You will feel some type of shift right away. And that type of shift will either be, it'll just be something you sense. Let me put it that way. You will be able to tell that, oh, you're on the edge, you're pushing the envelope of whatever the thing is. And if you can't tell right away that things have shifted, I would argue that's not a strong enough tool. And so if you look at a lot of the above ground tools, conventional therapies like talk therapy, meditation, journaling, you can't tell right away that something has shifted. And so in that sense, I really think these below ground tools, these underground tools, are just better, objectively better, and stronger and just more effective. So anything that doesn't give you an immediate thing is, it almost takes more belief, to be honest, and more trusting the process than just simply being willing to try something different. And what I mean by that is like these below ground, underground tools that I'm talking about, because these ones, in my experience, give you more of an immediate change that you can sense right away. So what are they? So to work at the level of the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, NLP has been very powerful for that. And for the somatic level, I haven't found anything that really teaches that except for the MindWorks in a good way that I like, except for the MindWorks program, which I teach. And the thing that connects the two of these is basically we're doing some level of energy work. And this is the fascinating thing. So if you accept the fact that we are a super quantum human computer, and our bodies are, and our human system is just processing all of this data and all this information all the time, it's all coming into the body at some level of energy. Because all energy is data and information. And so when that's the root level you want to work at. And when you work at that level, that's when you can really feel things shift very quickly. And it's a lot of the conventional methods that don't operate at that level, that don't give you results quickly. And so then you stay stuck and you stay in the same patterns and you keep banging your head against the wall, trying the same thing over and over like I did, and it not actually doing anything. So for some people it can take years of staying stuck and trying things and trying modalities and not making progress for them to try something new. If that's you, please send me a message, learn more, let's get you unstuck. For some people, it's just a matter of, hey, I've been doing good and I want to do great. I've been at this level and I want to go to this level. And I just want to use the more effective, more efficient tools, because entrepreneurs, business owners, don't we love efficiency? We do, because we want to spend less energy, less time and resources, less money to solve a problem. We just want it solved and move on to the next one, right? All right, I'm getting to where I'm going, so I'm going to cut this video. But if you take nothing else away from this video, just remember that a lot of the above ground tools don't work as well as the below ground tools. And the below ground tools, not a lot of people know how to use them effectively. And so many of us stay stuck in the above ground tools. And the below ground tools, all you have to do is want something to change and be willing to try it and to follow instructions. You don't have to believe in anything. There's no religion. There's no shift in, you have to try believing in something else. It's just, are you willing to try it? So I hope that helps, guys. I'll see you in the next video.